Hi everyone. This is the first esports and gaming meetup of this year and the second since we started the track in December last year. This time we're gonna talk about revenue streams in the gaming industry, with esports being one of the sub-segments of this industry that's getting more and more attention, and also rising up throughout, let's say, out from the epidemic period, up and up together with the whole gaming industry. So these meetups are dedicated to the community, to the enthusiasts who want to learn about the gaming industry in general, learn about esports, learn about the people in the region who deal with this. So we're talking both about organizers of events, organizers of teams, agencies, digital agencies. So people developing products, developing platforms, digital products, you name it, the whole scope is what defines the gaming industry. The meetup is going to last for 1 hour. We have some invited guests, invited speakers who will share their experience, their knowledge with us. And at this point, I would also welcome all the viewers. Thank you for joining us, and feel free throughout the meetup anytime to, first of all, post questions in the chat, or just unmute yourself and chime in the discussion. We want to keep it as relaxed as possible. Every opinion counts. Every question is very, very welcome. That said, I would also invite you, as much as you feel comfortable, to turn the cameras on. It's much more pleasant to look at a bunch of funny faces than at the blank black wall. I see also some children attending. Thanks, Goran, for bringing the youth to the meeting. So, jumping in the very topic of today. I'm, as you can see, Tom the Pivets. I'm the CEO of Reveris. We are starting up a business accelerator for esports and gaming companies. The point is to help the community, to help the motivated teams and organizers and developers that are already out there in shaping their plans, shaping their ideas, so that one day they can live from it, so that they can build a sustainable activity, a sustainable business, and fulfill their dreams, if this is one of their dreams usually. And in the very scope of our mission as an accelerator, today's topic on what is bringing revenue to this whole industry is spot on, because this is one of the first questions that we need to clarify whenever we have an idea, whenever we have a project that we want to make a living out of it, make it long lasting. We need to clarify, how is this going to make money? How is this going to be sustainable to pay the people who then do this stuff? And with this, I will present the two speakers of today. One is Samo Zavashnik. He's an hello. Smiling. He's the let's say one of the most experienced, probably one of the most experienced in Slovenia, also in the region, in the last decade, in building esports organizations, building esports events, getting sponsorships, organizing events on a big scale, on an international scale. He is also, as a profession by himself, he's a marketing expert. He's a co-founder of an esports agency, CEO of a digital agency for gaming. I could go on and on, but I will in a second give the word to him. The other speaker today is Luka Narat, or Narat. You will correct me. I'm from Primorska.
Narat, yeah.
Narat, thanks. I'm from Primorska, so it's always the other way around as I pronounce it. So Luka Narat, and he's hey Luka. And he's an expert in developing digital product. So he's a product manager for the IT and gaming sector. He's a founder of a startup developing tools for streamers. He was for several years employed at a company developing a gaming platform, First Blood. He was the lead product person there. He was also the Outfit 7 game development company and publisher. and he's also part of Reveries team. Now, when we formed the team of consultants for starting up and helping the new companies, new startups, he's one of the core members who helps us do that. That said, Samo, a few words from your end. Who are you and why are you eligible to speak here?
Thanks for the word, Tom. Anyways, as briefly described, I've been in esports. I've been in competitive gaming. I've been a competitive gamer since 2006 when I got my first PC. I still remember it. It was blue. It was really good. And it got me into Call of Duty 2. This led me to clan-based. This led me to Call of Duty 4. With its collapse, I then went into Counter-Strike, and now I'm where I'm at. So being a gamer first has helped me get to this point. That goes without saying. But more importantly, I started on this journey because when we were playing, there was almost no events taking place in Slovenia. There was, if I recall correctly, there were Lethal Lens back in 2002, 2001, which were really, really large. And I just had the pleasure of randomly meeting the organizer behind those events a few days ago. I was thrilled. He was talking about those days as ancient history, but yeah, that's how it goes. But if I digress, more importantly, there was no real events. There was a Grand LAN organized by Luka Uvodic, who is now full-time into marketing and doesn't care about gaming anymore because he grew up. But I was, let's say, a bit more persistent than him, and told myself, well, if I want to make this a profession, if I want to make this work, this is a long-term idea. And we started small. We started with a local LAN party. Epicenter back then was an event that had no sign-up fee whatsoever, because we had no idea what we were doing, and we couldn't bill for something we didn't know how to do. And we tried, we failed a lot of the times. Even later on, we had lots of problems with internet. We had lots of problems with moving locations, logistical issues, nightmares, and so on. But with experience, with extra events behind us, we, I believe, got to a point where these events became routine, not routine, but more enjoyable, more for us and for the attendees. And now, in the last few years, we've managed to diversify from just organizing one event into multiple things. I, for example, as said, I'm a co-founder of an esports talent agency and influencer agency, which is a major part of my time, as well as doing work on Big Bang's Game Gang project, organizing events, as even though we have COVID, working with Basketball Federation, or is it Association of Slovenia, whatever, and the Football Federation. So a few projects, a few things I like to work on, and yeah, I think being in the field since 2011 as a tournament organizer has helped me see lots of people start up, have a great idea, and then fail, and then never get back up again. And that saddens me, of course, because for esport, if you want to work in esports, and if you don't plan on getting massive amounts of parachute money from investors, so you get, I don't know, 20 million for an idea, for a one-pager, well, then it's a struggle. Then it's a struggle to make it sustainable. Then it's a struggle to make it work day in, day out, to have enough money for payroll. But I can safely say that now, with 10 years of experience behind me, we are at that point that we can pay people for commercial projects, that I can do this full time, and I'm proud to be at this point, definitely.
That's great. That's great. That's a great story. Well done. Nicely achieved. We will come back to this point when we go further on in the discussion. Thanks, Samo. Luka, who are you?
Yeah. Hey. As said, I'm Luka. I'm more of a technical product manager profile. I can honestly say that my esports footprint is a bit much smaller than Samo's at this point. However, I did have the chance to work in some great gaming companies and now started my own esports kind of startup. First one being Outfit 7, as you mentioned, where we were making mobile games more casual style. So still not completely there, but as a gamer myself, I found my passion to be, working in this arena, not just enjoying it in the afternoons. And therefore, the next opportunity to work in gaming was in a company you mentioned, First Blood, where there was a lot of investment money, and we were able to try and make a tournament platform, starting for League of Legends, trying to get onto PUBG, and then adding more and more games. Actually, my mistake, starting with Dota 2 and trying to get League of Legends. And the point there was to kind of automate something that a lot of other companies were trying to do manually, where you could create a tournament and people would manually put each bracket next and next and next, depending on the results. We tried to make that as seamless as possible and have the bots and the APIs work together so that the tournament would complete itself. We wanted to both be the organizer of these tournaments as well as provide the technical solutions. But as we can discuss in more detail later, ends up being quite a pain point because of the sports market being so tight in communities that there's organizers already out there who have all the people, and it's a really big pain for you as a newcomer to kind of establish your base of players and your base of teams that will come play to your tournaments. And after 2 years of working for First Blood, we kind of got an idea with a friend that also worked there as a developer of trying to make use of all of the content that's being created while streaming. As you know, streaming is all on the rise for the last couple of years. More and more people have gone into it. The content production is massive. And there's a side effect of everybody who's streaming, which is clips are being created. Not just the streaming part, which is a live stream and goes on and on. There's also these clips that people can do on Twitch, for example, automatically. And there was other platforms that allowed it. And we thought, hey, there's so many of these and they're not curated and there's nothing really, they're not being put to good use because it's hard to find them and decide which ones are great. There's people putting them on YouTube as compilations. Streamers do it for their own self, but it seems to be kind of a tough job to really figure out which is good and which is not. And there's definitely a lot of quality content in there. So we said, okay, let's make this thing which we call Big Play TV now, where people can rank kind of like Reddit style, which clips they like. And we would have an algorithm that ranks them up and down based on, trending. And we could generate these compilations of best moments as they go along. And then since we've started doing this for a year and a half now, we've kind of pivoted left and right, just exactly because of the point of this meetup, which is the revenue streams, right? If you want to be this publisher, which gives people the option to view really good clips, your idea is going to be, okay, ad revenue is going to be the one you're going to go for immediately, right? But that means you have to be really big. And before you get there, you're already struggling, because if you don't have investment early on, it's hard to get to the point where people are paying you enough for ads so you can sustain yourself. So we kind of pivoted into a couple of ideas we can also discuss later. But here we are now working with Reveries and solving those issues, and happy to be here.
Thanks, Luca, and welcome. So as you can see, Sam and Luca both pointed out it's a struggle at the beginning, one way or another, either if you're into a technical, digital sense or an organizer. At this point, I would like to re-welcome everyone who joined late. We are at the meetup on Esports and Gaming Slovenia, talking about revenue streams in esports. Feel free to turn on your cameras, feel free to join in with questions, with discussions, opinions, anytime you want. The session is being recorded and it's going to be posted on our YouTube channel after the meetup. That said, thank you for the introduction. I will start with a short poll for the beginning, because I want to see what kind of audience we have. The question is, how close are you to making money already? And there is the whole spectrum from already making money to it doesn't even apply to me. And I want to see how far are you on this path. And in the meantime, as you vote and as it goes on, I will jump into the first question with Samu and Luca. So we go top down, okay? The overall gaming industry has been now estimated closing year to 2020 at around $170 billion of total market size. Now, the question is, where does this come from? So where is the bulk of this money? Who's creating this value? Who's paying for this? Maybe Samo, you can start on your end. No need to describe it all, but just from a perspective of running organizations.
This is a question I'm not entirely educated or involved in enough to fully encompass in answering, but still, I believe we users, we gamers are paying for this, because if you, for example, in Slovenia, if I can talk mostly locally because I work locally, but you can then reach further out with my numbers. For example, in Slovenia, based on a Mediana research done in October 2020, 97% of Slovenians play games either regularly or occasionally. And when you look at it from that way, this is a credible info. It was done on a correct sample size, and it can be applied to the whole nation. And it is correct. The number is correct. And when you look at it that way, if 97% sometime play games, a good number of those will pay some money to play, to get a boost from microtransactions, will play to buy a game, to buy a DLC, to buy a game, for example. And this is where the money comes from users. But Luka, I'm very sure you know this much more than I do, and feel free to take it away.
Yeah, no, I agree completely with you that it's from users either directly or indirectly somehow.
Exactly.
At the end of the day, either you're watching an ad and you're paying for it that way, either you're watching a sponsorship deal and you're making a purchase from some brand. I agree with that. Now, from a very analytical standpoint, I've had the opportunity to speak with some big name people from teams around the world, and I think maybe it's important to kind of dissect the market a little bit further down than just saying, okay, there's the whole gaming industry, then there's the esports industry. Then within that, there's an overlap between streaming and media providing, and there's a bit overlap with esports directly, because maybe esports is just the tournament part of it. Maybe it's not. Maybe the tournament, the tournament media licenseship is also something where you have the media rights for the tournaments and they're being sold to people who do more like ninja style streams. So there's a bit of a, I think the big problem of answering your question is there's the disconnect between what falls into which one of these markets. But from my understanding, sponsorships are the majority of the money right now. There's some VC capital coming into the teams based on future promise of how much these teams will be worth to publishers or whoever is going to be, whatever the value they're going to bring. So if there's a team and it has a lot of loyalty from their users because of the team members that are in there, it's likely that team will be able to promote a new game for a publisher. And that's really, that's valuable, right? Besides sponsorships, like I mentioned, there's some aspect of media rights that go around right now. So if somebody like Samo is organizing a tournament, he has the right to earn money for whatever content he creates there, right?
Good luck selling that in Slovenia.
Yeah, I can imagine, but that's the idea, right? That's where you want to be at some point. And then there's the merchandise aspect of it. And as far as I know, Twitch and the other streaming platforms, which are, I guess, still too small to mention, maybe YouTube's gaining on traction a bit, are also paying for people to stream on their platforms, for example. So when you say where this money is coming from, it depends on who's the one getting paid at the end, right? So exactly. Are we talking about people who are producing in it, or the consumers are also getting something in return sometimes? But yeah, I think sponsorships are dominating right now because there's so many eyeballs, and the eyeballs are growing. I think it's 15 or 10% year over year. There's more people watching and absorbing. Yeah, and exactly. If I can say a funny anecdote for me is that I had a chance to live in South Korea for half a year. And I think for the relevancy of this meetup, it's like looking into the future from there, because they're so much more advanced in adopting esports as part of the culture, right? You were in the cafeteria anywhere, basically, eating food. And there was at least 5 StarCraft TVs with tournaments on there, you know, like, and you can imagine they're at a different point, but you have more and more and more eyeballs watching it. Everything that's on there is going to be more valuable. I mean, any ad is going to have, you know, greater value for the companies that are selling it. And to go even more broad, in an information age and technology is like obviously so super important. Advertisers that are advertising anything to do with technology have a crossover with gaming, and therefore it's a very unique market in that sense that it's just going to go up and up, I think.
I agree. So like you said, Luca, it depends when we talk about revenue streams, it depends on from what perspective. So if we look from the perspective of those who are central to the ecosystem, so the organizers, the ones that are providing esports and gaming value. So this means about you know, the big plays, the First Bloods, the Ampix, digital agencies, the Spike esports agencies, Samos organizations. This is the one that provide the core value, and the players itself. So these players, like we said, yeah, at the end of the day, it's eyeballs. How many people watch you, look at you, follow you, love you, feel connected with you, and they either buy your stuff, buy your game or your DLC deals and microtransactions in game, or they might be willing to buy your ads, or in this kind of sense, allow you to sell your plays, your media plays to sponsors and to advertisers. So
yeah, because for example, one that I didn't mention, I'm sorry, is tournament winnings, right? If we're strictly esports, then one that comes to mind is tournament winnings. And I know there's millions in the pot for the big tournaments. However, if you ask yourself, well, okay, that's an entry point of money. Where's that money coming from? Well, tournament winnings, again, we're back to sponsorships probably, right? So they're not like, I mean, some of them are from ticket sales maybe, but Samuel, you know more about that. If you can correct me, I don't know, but I guess it's sponsorship money.
Lots and lots and lots of it is sponsorship money. Thank you, Red Bull.
Still has to pay the debt.
No. Anyways, in esports, if we're just talking about this really in its biblical sense of esports, it being a competitive games being played on a big stage, it is absolutely far and away the most important part are sponsorships. It goes without a doubt, because the numbers of viewers, the engagement, the actual view times are insane when compared to all other sports, all other advertising avenues. For example, when I watch the CSGO major, I watch it for the entire duration. I watch those same damn ads for 3 weeks straight. And believe me, I'm more inclined to purchase something from, I don't know, Intel, for example, as opposed to AMD. Yeah, and I don't know why, but I saw that ad a million times, and that's what makes sense. Ticket sales, importantly, have gone up dramatically in the past few years, especially with those larger gross margin items, such as those VIP tickets that go for 300 euros a pop. And you don't get anything for it except for a hoodie. But hey, whatever floats the consumer's boat. And of course, even more so in the last few years are media rights. For example, the value of a license to commentate or to purchase rights to broadcast ESL's content in Slovenia is a five-digit figure per year. For Slovenia, which is not a market, it's a statistical error when you look at the entire world. But it's a five-figure number, and this is not a small number when you get to Germany, when you get to Poland, when you get to Russia, and then it begins to make sense. Of course, there's also merchandising, which is ever important, especially for teams, much more so than organizers. That's why ESL jerseys and PGL jerseys and T-shirts are always on sale, because they want to do a consumer brand, but it's the teams you connect to, not the organizers themselves. The tournament organizers are just let's say, a vessel that the team, you cheer for the teams, you cheer for the players, you don't cheer for DreamHack making so much money. No, you don't. And that this is and that's why I believe that tournament organizers will be okay. They will be ever present. They will make probably the most amount of money in the long term, but it's gonna be teams that are gonna be pushing the cultural changes and envelopes and so on and so on in the future. It's gonna be teams that are gonna be the main cornerstones, like Chelsea and like United. Manchester United, right, and PSG, and so on and so on, are in football the core. So I believe esports teams will be the main entities that are gonna affect esports as such in the cultural sense.
Mm-hmm. If I may add, the opportunities that gaming and esports bring that other sports may not is the existence of solo people also providing content, for example. So teams are definitely going to be a big aspect to that, but there's also people like Ninja who make money off of providing content and not necessarily even being in a team and playing any tournaments. I mean, they do play tournaments, but you don't have that in any other arena, which is the same kind of, you don't have that in sports. You don't have people just playing with the ball alone and still being able to earn money from that, right? So there's that dual tangent. And to go back maybe to the point where we started the whole conversation of how new people can make money and new organizations, I think this is the major problem, is that if sponsorships are the main revenue right now, and you need to be big enough to have those eyeballs, where are you going to get your money from, right? You need those really good short-term ideas. And I don't know, Samo, maybe you can share some of how you got by for the first couple of years.
Sponsorships.
Already, immediately.
So for example, when we had nothing, we had a landing site for Epicenter 1. I went all out. I was 16, 17 when organizing that. I know I was under 18 and I had problems with the legal permits and all that. Anyways, I digress. I did a 7 or 8 pages full partnership proposal document that was just text. It was why our event is going to be the best. And when I look at it, I'm like, oh my God, did I really? But still, we managed to get some. But it wasn't money. Far from it. And if you're in esports, if you want to make money from day one, if you want to be paid from day one, you're in the wrong segment, buddy. So anyways, we got some prizes. It was something with paintball. It was something with discount codes for a shopping site, e-commerce site. Nothing substantial, but still it was something to give to the players, so they were happy and they wanted to come. And it's always about awards in the end. It's always about getting something, and we gave it all to the players, and they kept coming back. And it's a ball that once you get rolling, it gets only bigger and bigger and bigger, and that's how it is now. It's our documents are much more optimized. Are much more graphical, nicer to look at, and we get more money. And it's not because of the graphics, that you can be absolutely sure. And this is, I think, the very let's say big problem, because everyone wants to make it big, but they don't want to invest. They don't want to put in the effort that is needed to get to that point. It's this applies directly to Gaming Paradise. If you guys remember that, it was a great idea. Join together esports gaming with holidays and make it a really good experience. Sounds perfect, but you don't do that as your first event ever, and you don't promise 50,000 euros per esports title as a prize pool, and you don't do. And you don't dream of large companies paying you 50, 100,000 euros for sponsorship deals when you haven't closed one sponsorship deal. Likewise for teams. If you're a team, you wanna form an esports organization, for example. You're a group of friends. Let's make jerseys, let's make a website. But what are you actually selling to sponsors? It's easy to get the contact information from someone at JBL or Red Bull or Intel or Lenovo, for example. It's easy. It's much more difficult to give them actual value. You can lie, obviously, some people do, but it's very short-sighted.
Short-sighted, yeah.
Yeah, that's the word. You can scam them once, but good luck getting money from them again. And that's what that's what maybe set back our industry in the local region. Lots of, let's say, failed attempts, but still, I think we're on the right track, and things are growing. And now with the expansion of esports in the last few years, it's easier than ever, but still it's always about those added value, what you actually bring to the table, what will you bring to the sponsor, what will you bring to the viewer who will watch your stream. And it's a very difficult struggle, especially when you have to compete for attention with LEC in League of Legends. You have to compete with the majors, with ESL. And for it, you only watch one stream at a time. Why would they watch your stream? And it's difficult, but it's the cards you've been dealt.
Since you already touched the point on this, and I know this would have a question in the comments also, I really want to know, if it's not too much to ask, can you give us the cheat sheet? Can you tell us what do sponsorships look for? What do they, or what are the like main things you think you need to present to them, even if it's a promise?
You're reading my mind, Luka. You're reading my
mind.
mind.
I'm really curious.
Yeah, I'm just nodding. Yeah, the right questions.
To get a sponsorship. Okay, first question: are you a team? Are you an organizer? What are you doing? That's the core question. What? Tell me. What do you want me to give you a cheat sheet on?
Tell your story as an organizer.
Okay, so as an organizer, how we managed to get sponsors such as, for example, Lenovo. This is I think a great example because we've been cooperating with them since 2016. Every year they give us more money.
Sounds easy.
No, but
let's go do this.
But the important question isn't how much money they give us. The important question is how we keep them from keep giving us money,
coming back.
Exactly. How do we get them to keep coming back, to keep wanting to do work with us? For example, it would be easy to go work with a competitive organization, and they have maybe a slightly different pool of users, and that would make sense. But why work with us? Firstly, it's what deliver on what you promised. Always under promise and over deliver. Yeah, it's a cliche. It is, but when you write, we will reach 100,000 users in Slovenia, you better make sure that you will reach 100,000 users, and you will show them proof of that. So, for example, when we do a sponsorship document, we promise a lot of things. We promise we will produce for example, one video that's going to be really nicely edited, and so on and so on. We do a sponsored segment. We will do a branded stream feature. For example, we will brand a live replay with JBL Quantum Live Replay or something like that. We list all those down, and then you go and actually do them. And you actually then show them proof that you did it, and how that affected their brand positioning, what you did for as far as the reach goes, what you did as to insofar as what traffic you generated and what sales you generated. Obviously, when it comes to sponsorships in this small market, it's always how much sales will you generate. And I've been lucky enough to have a thick head and always go headbutt and say this is about branding, and because and while it sounds retarded, it is about branding, and it is about sales. It's about making the best of both of them. And sponsorships are never about actual return on investment. And once you position it in that way, things start to make sense. Yes, it's difficult to get the first sponsorship. It's difficult to get the first paying sponsorship, because in the beginning, everyone will try to, let's say, product sponsorship you. So you just get prizes, which isn't a good thing for the industry, I believe. But I digress. It's difficult, but slow baby steps, and you get there. But most importantly, you have to deliver on what you promised, and not deliver it with photoshopping or whatnot.
Yeah.
Actually do it. Reach is easy. The difficult part is getting enough players. The difficult part is actually producing and getting casters shoku to say what you want them to say, and so on and so on. And but in the end, when you have everything planned out, it sort of works. You always make mistakes, and sponsors, when you have enough rapport built with them and trust, it does. They can be reasoned with if you don't reach, for example, 1 of 10 metrics. But always you gotta work to get there. And it's easy to promise. It's much more difficult to deliver, and to deliver continually throughout the years. But it's when I'm looking back at it, I had some thick skin, lots of rejection letters, lots of people not even bothering to reply, cold calling, and I don't like talking on the phone at all. It was always a struggle, but it's just something that had to be done. And well, who else is going to do it? And then you just push through it until it's done, until you get the funds that you need to create the next epicenter. Plus, if I also may put in a little bit of extra salt on this recipe, be different. So, for example, don't just go in there with a PDF that says, "Okay, here's your gold sponsorship, here's the silver, bronze, whatever supporter package." Doesn't matter. Okay, it's great because you get in the direction you get them to a certain commitment level, and that works fine. But in the end, it's always a relationship between you and the sponsor. It's always what they want, and you adjust to their wishes. Plus, what you do is it always has to have something extra. For example, you have to pitch them 3 great ideas right off the bat. And for example, this was something we just started doing in the last year or two, was actually branding the stream elements. So live replay, winner interview, and so on and so on. These things, they're something that are taken for granted when looking at the European or world level, but they weren't done before here, and they bring actual value. They bring something different to the stream experience and to the brand. It's not just logo here, logo there, ad spot here, and logo on website. That's something they can get from every engagement, everything they do.
So actually, it's a great point that you made, how to differentiate. And exactly in the chat there was a question how to catch the sponsor's eye. What do you write that you make a difference from the others? So
I make it look good.
Yeah.
Just kidding. No, honestly, it's lots of trial and error. In the last few throughout the years, when you do this first time, it's cringy when you look back at it, as described previously. But it being very visual, marketers, for example, when you pitch, it's always they firstly don't know esports. In 95% of the time, they are looking for the numbers of viewers. They're looking for who the actual consumer is. Who is that person? So is he a male? Is he a female? Is he 16? Is he 25? Or is he 45? And that makes the world of difference. So a good point is to create a persona of the consumer, and then you push through and you communicate through that. And there's lots of things you can do. It's not maybe it's not what we do. I can't tell you everything though. But what I want to say is just let me read the chat and let me refer back to that. What catches the sponsor's eye? Yeah, it's always really nice
numbers, high numbers, and charts that go like this.
Yes and no. For example, we had no charts in our sponsorship pitch for the upcoming Epicenter Online 2. No charts. No, I haven't tried. I don't want to. What I do is I put a really nice picture of a person playing video games, and I do some text, and this is a nice combo. And you have to work it to make it look good. It's funny. It's funny.
Yeah, I will wrap up a little bit this question so that we move on. Thanks, Samo. So if you're an organizer, main source are sponsors. Point blank. You can't expect from the players or the viewers to play for this. The income there is just too low. You cannot burden them. I mean,
no,
we
impossible.
haven't yet found a way to do that in a sensible way. So it's sponsors who cover the expenses of running the operation.
For example, for Epicenter, which when it is a physical event, if we get, let's say, we get 6,000 euros from sign-up fees, we have to get at least twice that to cover the event in sponsorship fees.
Yeah.
So roughly each Epicenter costs 25,000 euros. So yeah, definitely sign-up fees are an important part of it. But as said,
it's a minority part.
Yeah, sponsorships are far and away the core thing.
Yeah. Thanks, Samo. I will before I move into the next question, which is very related, I will just show the results of the poll. Share the results. So if we look at this, we have 8 people here out of the 23 who voted that they're already making some money out of this industry, some employed in the industry. Some are already doing some stuff, so 3%. So half of the people here, which is I'm glad to see, already are quite serious with this. And then we have a third that have an idea or have a plan on top of the idea. So these those of you who are not yet making tons of money, you know where to reach out.
No one is.
No one is yet. that's true. Yeah. Yet, but there are possibilities. So going into the other spectrum, this is also why we have 2 quite distinct speakers today. From the very insider point of view of building an organization, Luca from the technological digital world. So scrolling over to what can you monetize if you're developing a digital product? The ads are the first that comes to mind, which is a kind of sponsorship in a different word for sponsorship, different kind of deal, but it's ads. And also in this kind of sense, maybe from your own experience that you've been researching a lot now with Big Play, what else can you monetize besides ads?
Yeah, sure. There's basically a very finite, a very short list of ways you can get revenue from your users, right? There's a subscription model, there's a microtransaction model, and then there's a pay for life kind of model in general, if you don't think about advertising. If you want to go the route of a pay for lifetime, you have to make something really amazing, right? You can look at really amazing apps that are worth 10 euros and people pay for it and then they play for it. The majority of apps right now are casual gaming apps where they kind of abuse people's addiction to monetize with ad revenue. But more into, like, for example, esports or gaming, if you look at Fortnite, they can give you that check for the battle pass because they've created the most epic game in the last 5 years, right? So if you're not counting on doing that, you have to either go through microtransactions and try to build your revenue stream from there. However, esports and gaming in general, dominated by a younger audience, are not the most inclined to open up their wallets or their parents' wallets to get that credit card and get you to pay, right? So everything is going to be a hassle from that standpoint. If it's not ad revenue where they don't have to pay you directly, then you're going to have to make them open that wallet. And either it's, and I'm being very blunt here, but obviously you have to provide value. I'm not saying steal their money from their wallet, but you have to convince them that whatever you're selling is worth them putting their credit card information in. And from my experience, from very technically from First Blood, we've had multiple issues with that. Not to mention legal issues, not even just the fact that user experience is something where you have to convince your product is valuable enough. As I mentioned, First Blood was doing a tournament platform where anybody could come in, pay $1 for entry fee, and the winning person of the tournament would gain the majority reward, right? So if you could have a big enough tournament, potentially you could pay $1 to go in, and in the end, you would get $100 out. Like, it sounds really tempting as a gamer to be able to kind of earn because of your skills. You know, it's very like non-luck on how it sounds, even though there's still matchmaking rating, and at the end it's kind of a zero sum. But it's all another story. Point is that even if you want to do something simple like saying, okay, you put $1 in, surely we'll get enough people to put $1 in. It cracked. It didn't work out that easily. I mean, people were just not inclined to pay. And if you give them a referral or some other bonus system or anything you give them for free to kind of, if you're thinking, okay, we'll give them €5 up front and then they'll be hooked and then they'll come back. It's a population of users who will try to manipulate and steal and get kind of the most out of it for free, right? So you have to be prepared for all those kind of pitfalls and really bring enough value so that the people who start using it kind of stay forever, because it's so amazing what you're giving them, right? And in that aspect of tournaments, we started with the US market, trying to get in there because there's the biggest population with the highest kind of possibility of them actually being able to pay the dollar for the entries. There's a legal aspects to a lot of the parts in gaming where it's not clear yet in most countries right now, you know, is it a skill game or is it a luck game? What can you even pay that's not directly paying for the game, right? If you're a game developer, it's very clear. You've added this value to the world and people can pay for your product. But if you're doing anything else in the gaming world, tournaments, I guess they're defined enough so they don't fall into that arena of luck gambling, but everything I've noticed so far that requires people to pay and then they play a game is still being debated by a lot of these policies around the world of whether or not this is a skill or luck game. And then if you go into the luck arena and you have to battle legally with either you're under more of a casino type now or not, it's a whole other problematic aspect to the system. So it's not easy, that's for sure. And we couldn't get, for example, a lot of people to pay. And we try to make our own in-game currency or in-app currency. You know, you can kind of try to avoid these rules, and I've heard of people even doing in their startups Amazon gift cards around everything. You know, so you give people, you know what I mean? Like there's ways going around the actual money coming in and out. But this just means, from my perspective, the market's just not mature enough. Like we just haven't, even if there's even the legal, we haven't decided on the legal issues per country, right? Like those things need to be set in stone. They're going to be these pillars that are going to stand there, and then new companies are going to be able to form on top of that. But if you can be first to crack one of these, you know, and move into the cracks, there's probably a lot of potential there.
Mm-hmm. So if it's not the ads, then it's the users. And if you're providing the users some way of getting money for chance. But this is maybe a quite specific issue if you are paying the users back in some way. If you're paying back, if you're not paying back, then you just you shouldn't give them loot boxes, random loot boxes.
Yeah. And even then it falls into that. But yeah, the other option is if you're making a technology company around esports and gaming as a software as a service, for example, you can have the subscription models, and you can have the pay a one-off, so you can pay the pay-per-use depending on what you're doing. In the big plays arena, we've tried, as I said, first monetizing through ads on clips that people could watch, but realized soon that that's going to take a long time before we get any real revenue in, and you can use sponsorships around that. But we had an idea of maybe providing streamers with a tool that they can use to make it easier for them to find their right clips, to tag their correct clips, to combine them into a compilation, to do all this stuff. However, we didn't realize at the time how passionate, how much of their the reasoning for their streaming is a lot of times more around passion than it is around actually making money in the short term, right? So for us, taking the streaming market as one of our pivot ideas was not, I'm going to say mistake, but it was like overeager before we understood that they're also not super inclined of opening their wallet and giving you a subscription early on before you can really prove that their work is really justified. I mean, you're automating a lot of their work, and so therefore they have more time for streaming and so forth. So yeah, it's a struggle. If you give me an example of an app that somebody's building, we can maybe walk around that of how that could work for revenue. But I'm thinking that Samo's way and trying to figure out whatever you're doing brings enough viewers or users so that you can go in and try and get those sponsors early is probably a better idea at the moment.
Good point. So bottom line is for both cases, for yours, Luca, and for Samo, the quality must be there. Either you must, like I said, under promise, over deliver, show the numbers, deliver what you promise, or the product that you are developing in one way or another needs to perform really well, so that you can then track the numbers. But it's the same as organizing events. You need to do a good stuff that you can keep people coming back, that you can keep the viewership coming back, and you can keep the relationship with the sponsors, with the advertisers. Okay, we won't go into the wider spectrum of how to monetize digital products, because there you have also things like selling the data, or other special kinds, selling the data about your users, or other special kinds of monetization who pays you. But the main two streams are here. The people who actually use your product, or the sponsors who advertise or brand themselves. Maybe it's better brand themselves.
Yeah. I would say to not end on such a negative note that it's not impossible to gain any people's money. I wanted to just put across that it's going to be a struggle, and that when you're doing a project specifically in this industry, make sure that whatever the problem is you're solving, it's worth really going deep into who the people are that you're solving it for, and do they have the money to even pay you. It's much more likely you're going to succeed in short-term revenue if you're solving a bigger company's technical issue in esports than it is to succeed if you're solving, I don't know, some gamers issue that do project hobby video compilation at home. Like, I mean, revenue-wise, I'm sure you can make a project a lot of people use and are not so willing to pay, and you have to do that. You got to get massive amounts of people in so you can kind of earn that revenue. But if short-term, if you can solve a solution for, I don't know, for Fortnite Epic Games, because they have a problem with X and Y, they're likely going to pay you some real money for it, because they have it. So just make sure you understand who you're solving the problem. Are people who are solving the problem for able to pay you?
Exactly. Good point. And I would say it's a struggle, but there are thousands of successful examples out there which are successful, which are running their businesses and in all aspects of the gaming industry. That's why it's so big. So maybe a pivot on how to think. Many people start some ideas, some project activity out of passion because you love doing that. But then you're required to finance that. And this doesn't mean that it needs to be financed by the people who you are providing value to. And this is the exact example of Samos. You love doing events and competitions and give this value to the community, but then you need to make a mind switch. If I want to make somehow this sustainable, I need to bring in money. So I need to bring in some other people and provide those values. So in this kind of sense, you could say, some of the sponsors are your actual customers, and organizing events is solving the issues of those customers to have bigger visibility. I'm not saying this is the way to go in life, but if you want to make a business sustainable, at least at one point in time, you must put yourself in this mindset to think, what problem are you solving to the person who's financing your operation? At least to that extent. And this is where Samo said, you have the trials and errors. You learn how to pitch, you learn how to deliver to them, you learn what they expect, and you can also plan some of these things in advance, or you go ask the people who already did it. So there is a zillion of ways to do so. We have 10 more minutes to go, and I have one last aspect that we haven't covered. So we just mentioned the esports teams. Someone said this is the future that's going to massively explode the esports industry. And this goes in both ways. There are also digital apps centered around esports teams and leveraging the esports teams and building the whole community around that. And and the organizers and the tournaments and the leagues and the game publishers also building around esports teams. There are even new models of let's say business coming in, where event organizers are sharing the profits with the esports teams. Maybe it will even come to this point where the event organizers will help the teams achieve the results. Achieve the results. Let me just mute Kremšnita. Great. And we will also come to the points so where the maybe the income of the teams when they grew up and they succeed will thank the event organizers for giving them the spotlight, because some, as you said, the event organizers is just a platform. It's a platform for things to happen. Without the teams and without the viewers, there is nothing. So from a perspective of an esports team now and looking into the future, how can you succeed? And let's leave aside, okay, of course you need to be good, as the players need to be good, but as a, let's say, somebody who runs an esport team, from this perspective, what do you need to do to succeed?
Okay, to be entirely honest, the results are the least important thing when starting out. It has to be said. If you have much venture capital going around, you need results as well. But aside from that, if you're starting a grassroots organization, esports team, you need to do what they all do. So this is a major problem point, because when you see how they do it in Germany or in the LCS or on major, so the large teams, the players often expect a lot of money. They often expect a lot of value, if I may be so honest, when directly starting out. So the most important thing to do in the beginning is to be in it for the long run, do things consistently, and manage expectations, I believe. Because when you look at the world around you, esports growing, you see those huge numbers getting thrown around with multi-million-dollar contracts. We all look at the bright lights and we look at the shine they have, but here locally, if you want to start something, it's important to manage expectations of players, because very easily will you start giving out money when you have none coming in. And you can do so for a month or two, a few years maybe, if you have deep pockets. But it's a business. You have to look at it like a business. And if you don't, you're just gonna kill the project in the long run. You have lots of teams that came into LCS, that came into the major leagues in esports with venture capital money. They burned it. They burned through all of it, and they crashed out. And well, it was just another crash and burn story. It's difficult to run a team even at the highest levels that is profitable. For example, 2 or 3 top teams are profitable, that get enough sponsorship money. Others run on venture capital, but they are different than a locally organized team or a local team, because they have hundreds of employees. No joke, hundreds. They have so many facilities they have to take care of. They have so much fixed operating costs that we locally don't. For us to succeed locally, the most important thing, as said, is managing expectations, is doing things, doing them consistently, doing them with quality, communicating right, providing actual value to the players, making them be happy, and enabling them to succeed, not with paying them, but with other things you can do. You can be a friend to them. They can talk to you. For example, you can be the one that tries to hold them together, and you'll be a jumping starting point for their careers. And once you sell one player from your team, you're rich, and it all works out. But it's
until then it's a struggle like usual. Yeah, but I would just point you in another direction. So definitely I fully agree with you that the expectation is to be managed so that you can keep the team together. What was very interesting to me, you said the results don't matter at the beginning, but you have to get money from somewhere. And usually you get money from, again,
in the beginning, you won't get any money. For an esports team, no way. Big Bang, for example, how many emails do you think they get for esports teams? It's a number of, it's not per day, it's per week. They get more than 10 emails or messages on Instagram. That's the most important thing and the most common one. Just a message, hey, sponsor me, I have a team, or me and my group of friends want to play, want to sponsor us, or I want a free PC, and that's how they go about their project. It's doing it it's doing it with a good structure. It's having a website, it's having good photos taken of your team, it's having actual value that you can show to the potential sponsor, and
showing that you can run stuff on
results
quality.
don't matter in the beginning because the sponsor doesn't care. Big Bang will, for example, sponsor you not because they will see added sales or bigger sales or whatever. They will do it because of their corporate responsibility programs. They will do it because they want to support the community. And when you look at it from that way, in the a very small scale, it's always the argument goes towards the professionalism side, not towards the side with the best results. It doesn't matter if you're the best team in the EBL and playing League of Legends on a very good level. It matters that you approach them with a coherent, well-written, not actually spelled out email that is normal. Normal. That's the basic thing. And if you don't have that, it doesn't. Nothing else matters. If you're the best or the worst, it doesn't matter if you don't have the basics down.
Mm-hmm. So thanks. It's a good point. So it's quite easy to differentiate if you notch up your quality of your materials, of your attitude, and with a plausible storytelling before you even approach anyone. True. And it doesn't matter if you train 24 hours a day if you can do that beforehand. Good point, Samo. Luca, on this note, and this is the last part of today's discussion, what platforms, so as an esports team, could they benefit from some of the platforms, some of the digital tech that's out there? I don't know how much okay, as a team, I don't think if you go and bet on yourself, in the end you're gonna earn money or lose more money, But can I brain pick you a little bit on what is out there to help team become successful? It doesn't need to be monetizing platform.
Well, that's off the top of my head. I would assume they could try and go tournament picking. So go on a bounty run, right? So there's a lot of organizing tournaments out there that are up for grabs with some money that somebody else already brought to the table, right? So I don't know enough about the communities of teams that exist, but I've met a few, and I know there's a lot of local pride involved and prestige, and that I have this team now, and my friends will know I have this team, and I can, write it on my social channels. But if you're more from a business side of view, I'm pretty sure there's people who've done the work for you and have brought sponsorship money to the table for a tournament somewhere out there from other places, which you could apply on. And you can start picking up small fees from that aspect, and waking up in the middle of the night to play some small tournament somewhere else. Maybe, like, I'm just assuming that's a route you could try and take, right? And if not, then you have to build your local community up to such a point that if you don't have sponsorship possibilities, maybe you can try selling merch really quickly. Maybe you can make your own crypto coin in the atmosphere we're living in right now, and try to go around things so that you have to basically know how to market yourself based on the times we're living in, right? So if you can be actual and you can know, okay, what's trending right now, where can I put my memes on with our team in it, and try to make a brand for yourself, somehow I'm sure you can monetize. If it's not through sponsorships because of the eyeballs, it's through some other arena. But as far as I know, from the most direct ways a team can earn money, and it's not sponsorship, it's probably the tournament winnings, which you can probably hunt around. It doesn't have to be the local one tournament a year or something that you can do here.
Yeah, it's a good point. Okay, thank you so much. I would invite the audience. We are already at 1 hour time, but happy to discuss and take some more questions if anyone would like to chime in. while you warm up. So while you warm up, yeah. So we run out of time. I had one also very. I wanted to pick you two on which of these, let's say, organizations or activities are more interesting for investors. But maybe we will do in the future a topic devoted only to this question. So we won't go into this now because it's a too broad topic. But the point is, some stuff is easier to scale and to show that it can be profitable one day than other. And digital products are known to be, the technology, the innovation is if you have the right idea, it's maybe easier to write on paper why it could become successful, while for organizations and teams it's a bit harder. But let's leave this for a discussion for next time. Anybody else? You wanted to say something, Sam, on this, my last note? Okay.
There's lots to talk about on that question. So
yeah, way too much to start.
Yeah, exactly. Way too much to start now when we are over
can't
time.
unravel that.
Yeah, exactly. Like, let's not open that. Yeah. Okay, then I will thank you very much. We made a brief overview of what are the possibilities of making money. We shared some personal stories, personal experience. It should be helpful to some who are starting up or somewhere in the middle on this journey. But most of all, usually the advice is ask those who have done it before, and this way you will be able to avoid falling in the same pitfalls and the same traps, and basically avoid reinventing the wheel. That's the thing, because a lot of stuff has been tried out, a lot of stuff is out there, knowledge is out there. Go and start your activities, your organizations, your products with the people who have some experience in this before, or seek their advice. That said, I thank the audience very much for this hour. I thank you, Samo. Thank you, Luca. It was a very pleasant discussion. And with the announcement. Apologies, I need to make some announcement. Yeah, we will continue with these meetups regularly on a monthly basis. So this will go on in February, probably around the same time, some third Thursday in February. Besides that, we have next week 2 more meetups. The last one of this month is Women in Gaming, led by Jiva there. Hey Jiva. And League of Legends meetup, which is aimed specifically at this community. That's it. And in the chat, I will link thanks. Jiva's already linking in the meetup group where you can apply so you get notifications for the next one, and the Slack channel and the survey for your feedback. Thank you everyone again. See you next time.
Thank you for hosting. See ya.